Hi, my name is Mark Walker. I'm the editorial director at the FinTech Times, and we are here at Seamless. Today, I'm going to be talking to a good friend of the newspaper, Amir. Perhaps, Amir, for our other viewers, if you could just introduce yourself, your role, and the company you're representing today.
Sure, yeah, happy to. So hi everyone, my name's Amir Nooriala. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Callsign. We're a UK-based, I don't know if you call it fintech or regtech, whatever you want to call it, but we're a UK-based scale-up, and obviously here for the week at Seamless.
Fantastic. So let's start off by talking a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
So I don't think you can really pick up from the accent anymore, but obviously San Francisco is where you sort of started your career effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very weird. My dad and my dad's side of the family and my brother all live in America, and my mum's side and myself all. Even my brother even went to uni there. Well, I went to uni in London. But when I graduated, because I've got a passport, I started my career actually at a time which is very similar to right now, the dot-com bust. I missed the boom. And January 2001, packed my bags, moved to Silicon Valley, worked for Cisco Systems. They were the biggest company in the world. They overtook GE for 3 months. They were going to be the first $1 trillion tech company, nearly 800 billion valuation. To this day, still haven't got to where they were since 2001. Did 4 years there, came back to London, did a stint at Accenture, very long stint at Barclays, working my way up the technology ladder there. Did another stint at another bank. I was MD for a bank. I thought, this is the life for me. And then I got the call to come back into kind of startup world, joining Oak North as their Series A COO. Then took over the chief strategy role from one of the founders, Joel, over there. Did a couple of funding rounds with Oak North, and then I got a very similar call to come and join Callsign and similar journey. So yeah, started off in Silicon Valley during the bad days, and now I'm back in London during the next round of bad days.
More bad days. Oh, you seem to thrive in bad days.
Yeah. Don't follow me in my career. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting you say that, but I think what your sort of journey has given you is a really interesting, rounded experience of both the banking and the technology sort of world.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's, as you say, bad days, good days, and sometimes when there's a downturn, that's actually when you find out what interesting technologies can bring you out of it and different things like that. That's probably something you'd relate to.
100%. And people love to bring out those kind of stats of all the big unicorns were started during down periods. Because the simple fact of it is when there's too much cash in the market, too much liquidity, things that shouldn't be funded get funded. There's a scarcity and a demand for these top engineers and all the rest of it. But when there's a downturn and people are available, suddenly you get the opportunity to put a great group of people together. Suddenly you've lost your job and you're going to take a risk now and do your own startup. And great innovation actually happens during these times. So I'm not worried about the economy or where the world's going or anything else. It's just we're going to have a period now of a scarcity of capital. There's going to be contractions in the market, but in a couple of years' time, we'll see the fruit that's born from that period.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into some more nitty-gritty, I also have to talk about your leading or head role of FinTech North London.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. Why the feeling that London needed North needed its own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes down to laziness, to be honest with you. My friendships are based on proximity, and if I can't walk to see you, then I'm not going to see you. And it just so happens that I kept discovering over a period of time there are a bunch of people very near where I live in North London that are either founders, whether it's like a Tarvet from Wise, a Shahar from Curve, Simon from Chip, those kind of founders, or operators like myself who get hired by founders, or VCs who fund founders. And so with Dev Kohli, who runs Outward VCs, the co-founder of that fintech fund, we set up a group called North London FinTech, private Chatham House. We meet in each other's homes, and it's become a bit of a syndicate. We do a lot with startup pitches, we mentor people, we invest in people, and it's just a good opportunity to be able to talk to people going through similar experiences, but with no pressure, with no sales pitch, and it's in your home, so you're a bit more relaxed and freer with discussing things that you could benefit from hearing from other people.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think it's a testament of what you try and also do for the ecosystem.
Absolutely.
That you're part of, whichever company you're in.
Yeah.
So bringing on to whichever company you're in. So
Yeah.
you're obviously now with Callsign. Tell us a little bit about Callsign, where they came from, and their sort of background.
Sure. Yeah. Look, it's a fantastic story that we don't really speak about. We're a bit more of a secretive company than most technology companies. And I guess that's the nature of what we do as well as a business. So our company was founded in 2012. Guy from Manchester, Zia Hayat, co-founder Ian Welch. Zia was working in fraud for various banks and government, that kind of thing. And he realized that he was buying these products, actually importing them into the UK, into his clients, and he could use the research from his doctorate to build something better than he was buying. And this is in 2011, before he quit his job. And so he quit in 2012 and thought, right, I'm going to build an MVP from my doctorate research and see if I can actually make a product or not. And just as a side note, those products he was buying are still being sold, right? So it's ripe for disruption in this space. Built the MVP, Series A funding a couple of years later from Excel, one of the first ever European investments Excel did. Obviously Excel funded Facebook and Slack and Dropbox. And this young man from Manchester with an idea managed to get Excel to come to Europe and invest in him, which is a testament to the kind of product he built. That funding made the product fully fleshed out. First client that was sold, again, most startups sell to a small client. First client that was sold was Lloyds Bank, biggest bank in the UK, second biggest issuing bank in Europe, and our technology underpins their digital channels now. Obviously, I've got NDAs, I can't speak about a lot of it, but I would say in the UK high street now, 6 out of 7 banks are using our technology, so 80% of the UK's population, without knowing it, is going through Callsign's tech. Very similar story in America. We're now over 400 people. We've got offices in London, a massive office here in Abu Dhabi, Singapore. We've got people in Brazil, South Africa, obviously America. So global company, global client coverage. And in terms of what we do, very, very briefly, when you go to log in, very simple login, let's say, Mark, you've got Mark.Walker at FinTech Times as your email, and whatever your password is, don't tell me, please. That's known in regulatory terms as a knowledge factor login, one factor, knowledge factor login. And then companies make that secure by doing things like sending you a password on a text that you type in. But that's another knowledge factor. What we have done is we've come up with a technology where we say, you don't need to do anything different, Mark. You just log in with your email and password, do your one factor, but behind the scenes, we will prove that you're on the same machine that opened your account, that you typed your email address in the same way as when you opened the account. So behaviorally, we prove it's you as well. In regulatory terms, that's proof of possession and proof of inherence, so who you are and something you own. So 3-factor, we'll check your location and say we've seen Mark in this location before. We'll scan your machine, say there's no malware, no bots, that kind of thing. So we convert a 1-factor login into a 3-factor login that's regulator approved, bank standard, ready for merchants, government, anyone who has something valuable online to their customers access. And we're a SaaS business, very simple, SDK, license-based business, and it's taken off. And again, very humble guy from Manchester, bootstrapped it himself, managed to get one of the biggest VCs in America to come over and fund him, and now we're 450 people around the world. So I think it's a great British tech story, to be honest with you.
Okay, so yeah, for a great story from a British sort of inspired tech company, which is around the world. So it kind of brings us, I guess, to what you're doing here at Seamless. I know obviously Callsign are a big sponsor here, you've got a great booth here.
Yeah.
What's the reasoning for coming to Seamless?
Sure, so first off, we've got a very large office here, so we're over 100 staff, we're aiming to be about 200 staff. In Abu Dhabi, we've got a very close relationship with the government here and some of the other countries in the GCC as well. And we're doing something very unusual actually. It's not a sales office. We've actually got engineering here. So through the government, we've got a visa program. We get the best engineers we can find. We bring them to this region. So we've got an engineering center of excellence. We've got security operations functions. We've got a SOC here as well, and obviously a sales function. There are clients already live in the region using us. I can mention a few of them, like First Abu Dhabi Bank or WEO, the new digital challenger who just launched as well. But we've got clients pretty much across the entire GCC as well as North African region. And I've got a global role, and when you've got a global role, you have to prioritize your time. If you see me at home in London, which you don't want to, but I'll probably be in pajamas in my office. But if you see me at home in London on a normal work day, mornings I've got APAC calls, then my Middle East calls, then Europe calls, and I end with North America calls. You know, in a global role, you have to prioritize your time and say, right, which market are we going to get the most bang for the buck from? And MENA is just an incredible market. You've got regulators who are being innovative and opening up to new technologies. They're bringing in regulations that are encouraging better user experiences. You know, like in Europe, we had the whole PSD2 that led to SCA and open banking. We're seeing a similar thing happening across every country pretty much in this region. We're also seeing fintechs being born, which aren't copycat. They're genuine, local problem fintechs coming out as well. So it's a very exciting area and fertile area for us. And so we're here to support the region. There's about 10 of us at Seamless over the 2-day period. And honestly, Mark, I can genuinely say this. We're filming this obviously day 2. On day 1, it was the best day of any conference I have ever been to in my career. Just the traffic, the quality of the visitors, the level of engagement we had. We've already booked our stand for next year. Hopefully by saying this on camera we can get a discount as well. But yeah, we've already booked for next year.
We'll mention it to Joseph when we interview him next. Just point it out for you. But I think it's echoing the sort of what we're seeing in this market is a real desire and drive to actually do something. You could have argued maybe 5 years ago there was more of a talking about doing things. But it has definitely moved on massively from there. You just have to look around, some of the innovation hubs and things. As you said, they're breeding new fintechs, which are actually looking to make a difference in the market as well.
Absolutely. And look, I'm in the UK for Tech Nation. I'm a judge for the fintech cohort. I'm a mentor here for Saudi fintech. So I get to see two different sides of it. The fintechs I saw this year's cohort in Saudi fintech, they were really good, really innovative, very much local problems. How do we do Sharia compliant wealth management for Generation Z? You're not going to get that business coming out of UK. It's not like someone just going, I can do a copycat. They are have genuinely embraced technology and are now building things out of it. We had 2 regulators come visit us at our stand yesterday, unprompted. We've been talking to them for the last year or so. They're like, we're here, just wanted to get an update. Can you take us through how things are going? That kind of thing. When your regulator is also keeping up with technology, when you've got kind of a booming startup scene and then obviously the established brands, something good's gonna come out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure, obviously, things like the open banking initiatives that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is working on as well. I was talking a lot about that earlier from BSF. Yeah. The way that they've understood where other countries have implemented it and have now changed it and deciding on a way that they should implement it is quite forward thinking.
Absolutely.
I guess they have the advantage of the leapfrog as well. But I guess with your experience from the region, you're seeing that from all over, from Egypt, from
everywhere,
North Africa.
Everywhere. And you're right. And you said something in terms of, I guess they had the experience of seeing other people implement it. It doesn't mean people learn lessons, right? That's never a given. But they have been paying attention, they've been watching. We've had revisions of PSD2, we've had revisions of open banking. They haven't gone and done version 1. They've gone and seen the revisions and then done a revision on top of that as their first version of it. So not just in Saudi, obviously we've seen open banking boom in Bahrain as well. UAE we know is consulting on that at the moment. Egypt's looking at it as well. So across the board, I've got to be always careful and not say GCC because we have the North Africa element, but across the board with the MENA region, we're seeing that everywhere.
Yeah, and I guess as you'd mentioned, talking on that, when we talk about regions, I think we both know that each individual area needs to be treated differently, different restrictions. Yeah. But actually there's no difference between this Middle Eastern region and North America, where each state has to be treated slightly differently. Europe, which is 27 different places to do regulation as well. So how do you sort of deal with that at Callsign? Is that something that you need to look at, or is your sort of offering a little bit different in the regulatory sort of space?
Yeah, I mean the platform itself is the platform and it's the same solution. But what we need to be able to talk about is what problem we're solving in local terms, so in every country. because the regulations are different in terms of, is it mandatory to send an SMS OTP every time a payment is made, or how do virtual card payments work, etc. So we have to show nuance. We can't just come in with an English accent and say, well, this is how we do it in England, or this is how we do it in Europe. You guys should do the same. We have to show that we've put the effort in terms of reading up, learning how it works, embracing it, and then saying, right, this is how we think we can specifically help you with how things are done in your country. And so as part of that, again, we haven't just transplanted a load of people over from London. We try to cherry pick the best people we could find and staff a local team. And at our stand yesterday, we did a presentation in the morning in English. We did a presentation in the afternoon in Arabic. We have Arabic versions of all of our material. We do sales presentations in full Arabic. Obviously, I just nod because I can't understand what anyone is saying, other than I can do my hello and thank you and nod a lot. But yeah, we try to be local. We try to be local, and local doesn't mean MENA. It means for every country trying to be local. Because even when you speak Arabic, the Arabic you speak in Egypt is different to Gulf Arabic. The accent is different. There's nuances to it as well. So we try to make sure we've got full coverage of wherever we go. We're respecting how they do business, and we try to mirror it.
And I think that's a really interesting point. That sort of back in several career paths ago, when I was helping advise companies come into certain regions, there was a tendency for Americans to come in and try and overhaul everyone with the American way of doing things. I think that's all really proven out to be not the way to do things, and obviously, as you said, it's the right way to be working with the local environment.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you a really difficult question for my final question.
Sure. Because
I want, with your considerable amount of experience, what's going to happen in the next 5 years in this region?
In this region, I think this region will not be seen as a satellite. It will be seen as a massive contributor to any company with global ambitions. There's always a temptation to say, oh, we've got a Middle East bit, but it's a satellite. We don't really think about it and we don't visit it. If you look at the demographics in this region, obviously there are certain countries which are low population, but you've got somewhere like Saudi, with 35 million people. Everyone talks about Saudi. Yesterday we did a panel. We had Saeed flying from Saudi Anglo Bank, so Saab, talking about his demographic, but we also had the head of Snapchat for Saudi on our panel to give a different view. And he said something very interesting that a lot of people don't realise. He said of the 35 million people in Saudi, 20 million of them are using Snapchat every day, right? So they're digitally native, the population. They're not digitally banking though. So I think when we see that shift of a sizable amount of the population doing everything daily online, add that to Egypt where there's 100 million people, where the majority of them are under 30, but again, not digitized though. Once we see that shift of digitization, and it won't just be banking, it'll be just startup apps in general, then the fintech apps and banking, all the rest of it, the revenue, because ultimately what people care about is always revenue, the revenue that's coming will suddenly be significant enough to your balance sheet that you won't see this as a satellite that you visit once in a while when you want a sun holiday. You'll see this as something which is materially impacting your business, and you're going to take it seriously, and very seriously. I'm not saying people don't take it seriously, but not everyone is here. In 5 years' time, I think everyone will be here. Does that answer your question?
That does answer my question. And I think that's a really good answer actually to that question. As we've seen just over these last 2 days, the number of European and American companies that are now here and now starting, you can see that understanding is now permeating back through to their head offices that this is the place you're going to have to be.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure hosting you here on Seamless TV, powered by the FinTech Times.
Thank you very much. Thank you.